Kevin, what is your topic?
Alright, so this, maybe a little bit deep. I'm not that deep, as you know. You've known me for a long time. But, it's something I kind of got thinking about when Brett was texting me about doing this podcast with him. The idea of living with purpose. And by that, it can mean, do you have life goals that you're working towards? Because we got talking about competition last time. And,
Yep.
we were talking about how the journey is the important part. And so I kind of got my brain juices going.
There we go.
So I guess my first point is, if you have your life purpose or your life goal, that's great. If you don't have it, I think it's something that's very important, and it's not always easy to figure out because sometimes I think our biggest enemies to our own achievement are ourselves most of the time. Like we tell ourselves we can't do something, whatever. So I guess like one of the ways, like if you think, hey, I don't even really know if I do have one, or if even I have a goal,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta ask yourself. I think one of the first questions is, are you currently happy?
Mm.
Because I think a lot of times when you have that goal, you have the set mindset of what you want to do with your life. That provides so much of like a juice or an energy to your day that even if it's not happy, it's contentment with knowing I've got something I'm working towards. So if you're not currently happy or content, or you feel like maybe I don't have that, you might want to consider that you don't have it, that you're not living with it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that really mean? In my definition, I'm going to say it means having a direction that guides you or a goal that you're working towards. And like I said, Brett and I spoke last time about how competition is important, but the most important part about competition is the journey of how you get there. So like Brett is a black belt in Taekwondo, and that's a long journey to get there. It takes dedication, hours of work, learning everything, lots of hours of work, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And that journey is oftentimes, I think, the part of it that's actually the part you learn from the most. Having the black belt is great, but the journey of how you got there is how you learned to be confident or how to achieve a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So having your purpose is having your journey ahead of you, and you use that journey to enhance yourself, to become maybe a better person, maybe a happier person, maybe whatever you think about when you were a kid that you wanted to be. Like, I think when we were in high school, I don't know how it was for you, Nolan, but when we got to high school, I feel like people a lot of times would ask, like, hey, what do you think about doing for college, or what do you think about doing after school? And I'd say maybe 80% of us really had no idea. We had like maybe a general idea of something we might be interested in, but how we could translate that into what we wanted to do with our life, that was a big problem. And I think I've read a lot of stuff like about how our generation is almost kind of like directionless. And it's not that we're bad, it's just like the times that we're being raised in and the way that the culture is changing and everything. A lot of kids really don't have the direction maybe that our parents' generation had, or our parents before them had, and things like that. So I think it's super important for us, and it's just something I wanted to talk about. I guess my big thing is your purpose doesn't need to be a huge goal. It just needs to be enough to motivate you to strive more. And it's, just anything that'll get you going during the day and get you on board with, I don't know, how you want to go about that day, and you gotta live life day by day, because, at this point, I mean, look how things change at a moment's notice. You might think you're gonna be doing something the next week, and life just takes a turn at you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do have your purpose, right, and like Brett and I were kind of talking about, like with his Twitch, you sometimes judge yourself and how you're doing based on how other people are doing.
Yeah. You
can't do that with your purpose or your goal. Because the reason you have that is because it's unique and special to you, just like every person is, right? So I have some advice towards it, achieving your goal or deciding what it is, but it's all based on where my life has been, and I can't expect that it's going to be perfect for everybody that's watching this or is going to hear it, but it's just kind of what I've been noticing.
Mm-hmm.
So a thought that kind of came to my mind yesterday, and I don't know, at the time I thought it was a good point, but you guys might just be looking at me in a minute going, what is this guy talking about?
I hate it.
Is consider how your day begins and ends.
Mm-hmm.
Are you more eager to start your day or to end your day? Right? So, like, in the morning when you wake up, are you, like, ready to jump out of bed and, like, hit the beach running? You know what I mean? Like, you've got everything you want to do for the day in your mind already. You're super excited and pumped. Or are you saying, God, I cannot wait for this day to be over. I can't wait to get to bed.
Okay.
And this is huge because you'll know when you have your purpose when you wake up each day, and each day is a challenge, or it's a new opportunity to prove yourself or to achieve what you want to achieve. And if you get to the end of the day and you're drained and you're just not looking forward to the next day, you may not have that purpose or goal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think that's like the biggest thing you need to talk to yourself about. Talk with yourself about, and be honest with yourself about.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't to say, like, if you have a purpose, there's not gonna be days where you don't finish the day drained and beat up a little bit. 'Cause it's like anything in life. You're gonna have a few stumbles, you're gonna have a few falls, but when you have the purpose, you're gonna be able to pick yourself up and get ready for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest things you can use to evaluate what your goals should be or what your purpose should be is what your passions are. All right, so, like, for example, using Brett here for an example, just because you guys are familiar with Brett. Brett knew a long time ago, like when we were in high school and stuff, you enjoyed video gaming, you enjoyed artwork,
mm-hmm.
you enjoyed the more creative side,
mm-hmm.
right? And as far as I've known you, you've basically used that desire to work with the creative to guide your life.
Mm.
So I think doing things like Twitch and sharing your love of the creative with people, and maybe encouraging other people by you doing it, if that's what you consider to be your purpose, that's great because it's working with your passion, and I think that's fantastic. On like a personal note, like, I draw my purpose from, like, my personal beliefs, my personal faith, but that's not going to be it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Some people aren't going to be driven the same way. And it's not to say, like, again, my way is not better than yours. It's each of us are different in how we're going to go about how we achieve this. There's like really not much I can say too much beyond that because, this is an inherently personal journey for yourself, and I would just say kind of consider where you're at with your life and, like, are you happy with what you're doing? And if not, what can you do to change that? Because let's be honest, if you're not happy with where you're at in life, that's just no way to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to. Nothing in life's gonna be always up and up, right? Like, you might just have a job that you don't really like, but it's paying the bills, but it allows you to do things that you do like. Your passion and your purpose does not need to be like your job. You can, like, for example, like, I don't consider my job to be my purpose. Like, it's an okay job. It provides okay, but it gives me, like, this time off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get a good amount of time off from my job where I can pursue things that I am interested in or things that I am passionate about. So it doesn't have to be your main thing. If it is, that's awesome. Like, you're one of the lucky few, I'd say, that can absolutely love what they do on a daily basis. It's like I was actually visiting I was bringing over some stuff for the SPCA or whatever, the Humane Society over in Boston Spa there. And there are people that'll show up every day, and they volunteer to walk the dogs,
mm-hmm.
right? Which, if you ever go in there, I mean, these people are doing a heck of a job at the Humane Society, taking these animals in and not just, killing them right off and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But these dogs are in these small crates, and if you've ever been around a dog, they just love being all up in everybody's business, running around, having a good time. But so people will come and get these dogs out of their boxes for the day, like go walk them around and stuff. And if that's something like you consider to be like a highlight of your life, like going and walking those dogs, experiencing that, having fun with that, like, good for you, man, because you're helping those dogs out, you're helping those animals out, you're helping the Humane Society people out who have their hands full as it is. Like, I was in there the other day and, like, 4 people had just dropped off dogs because they couldn't afford to have them anymore, which is so sad on so many different levels I don't want to get into right now because I'm trying to be inspirational and whatnot. But before I end this, I'll bring up my own personal experience about how having this purpose can be such a good thing for your life. Is Brett, unfortunately, was around me at a very dark night a few weeks ago, And it's something that I definitely had struggles with that particular problem for a while before and after that incident.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got my mind right and I got my mind on what my purpose was going to be or what my goal was going to be, like I say, that's not actually a problem for me anymore. Totally off of that situation altogether, and it's been great. I mean, much more optimistic, much more positive about life. I like to think I'm not as negative as I used to be. So, it's one of those things I'd say, just to wrap this up, having your purpose being defined for you and your goals defined for you, I think it's what's best for you as the individual. It gives you a sense of contentment, and I think it just makes you better to be around, and you can inspire people too with your drive to pursue things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my little pep talk, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that was good. I agree with what you said with like goal setting. I know for myself, I'm in a change time period, I guess, in my life.
Liminal phase.
Yeah, I was just about to say the thing we talked about. I wasn't happy where I was. I left, and now I'm kind of in that, I guess it's a growing stage, but also kind of that stasis where like nothing's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've had a couple moments where it's the good side of the coin is the bad side of the coin. Like good side, Twitch. I'm trying to grow this and do more and learn what I can and improve what I'm doing to make the content better. But then there's also the dark side where like there's been days where I literally don't feel motivated to do anything and I'm just down on myself, even though I have all these potential ideas and projects that I want to work on. There's just no drive to work on any of them specifically, and it's the doubt and self-doubt of like, well, I'm not doing anything right now, I can't get to this point, whatever it is. So yeah, purpose is definitely important and crucial, because like you said, even in those bad moments, it helps you rebound and bounce back and find a new energy for it. And I think personally I'm working on that right now. There's been a couple resurgences of like energy and spikes. I think it was maybe a month ago, for the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do for a career. And I mean, like, the Twitch thing is great. I love doing it. Obviously, I treat it like a job. If it turns into, partnership and I'm able to make more money, fantastic. That's great. But I also understand the chances and odds of that. I'm happy with my current status. I love it as a hobby. I love doing it. If it stays like this, I wouldn't be upset. So, like I said, I finally had that moment of clarity of what I want to do, 100%. I either want to go and work for Kinda Funny in San Francisco, or I want to go to Austin, Texas, and work for Rooster Teeth. I would like to work in content, whether it's in front of the camera, behind the camera, whatever it is. I want to go, I want to edit video, I want to make cool stuff, I want to make people happy, I want to do what they have done for me, along with other creators, and just put my energy into that. So now it's a matter of, okay, there's the goal, there's the purpose, what do I do to get to that point? And like I said, there was kind of a refocus and a re-energizing moment with that when I found that out in, okay, I can make this series and I have to put a little bit more time into editing it, not just cut, paste. All right, maybe be a little bit more creative with it, get my comedic timing down, get this, go on these trips, go out to Kinda Funny and be on the podcast, let my voice be heard, let people know who I am. If I can't network myself, nobody's going to. Going out to TwitchCon, maybe not necessarily being the most boisterous and like, here's a card, what's my, this is my name and stuff like that, but being a big step for me there was, I don't know, it was a personal like thing that I noticed after it was all said and done is, I know when talking with people in middle school and high school, obviously if I was comfortable with them, no problem.
Yeah.
But if it was a first time thing, like stumbling over words, very not confident in myself. When I went to TwitchCon, it didn't matter who I was talking to. I was pretty confident in what I was doing, what I was selling. I didn't have to think about what I was talking about. Hey, how's your day? What are you doing? Oh, you play this? No. I'm this. Da-da-da. It didn't matter if it was somebody who I kind of put into this light of, you're famous or you're Joe Schmo standing in line next to me. Hey, how's it going? I felt like I was able to hold my own in those. So purpose has allowed me to do that. And I mean, it's not like an overnight thing. Yeah. Like, ultimately, Twitch was a decision we randomly made, John and I, almost 4 years ago. Hey, let's check out this Twitch thing. This looked cool. And then it was that one, after that one stream, yeah, we think you could do this. Cool. And I haven't stopped since. So having those goals, having those purposes, yeah, I think they definitely help. But like you said, how people come on to them, it's going to be different for everybody. And it's not going to be the same goal throughout your life. Like, they're going to constantly change and maneuver. And it might not always be a big goal like, this is what I want to do for a job. It could be just like, hey, I want to live somewhere different. I'm not happy where I am. Or like you did with your trip to Paris, like just flipping the script. Hey, let's do something different. And you literally told me, and then like 2 weeks, gone. It was a quick turnaround. So yeah, I definitely agree with all those things you said, and it's definitely important for everybody to kind of figure out what they want to do. But the thing I want to warn people is just, don't beat yourself up too much about it, because it's, like I said, it happens differently for everybody, and it's not like every day now is a constant up. Like, there's still days where I'm like, but like you said, you have to be confident in yourself and your goal that you will rebound, and don't be afraid to be flexible with it. Like, if it's your goal one day, but you don't feel super confident about the next, like, modify it or change it. You're not stuck in that path or in that rut.
But I think, like, two quick things I'll throw to that is, like, with Brett, saying, like, there are days where you're not feeling motivated. Mm-hmm. When you got, like, if you got, like, a good group of friends that, like, everybody's got them, or most people have them, I should say, people that, like, really care about your well-being and everything, they want to see you succeed. I think a lot of times it's very helpful. Like, I have a couple of buddies I met, through school or through work, people that have your back at all times. I think sometimes it's really good to kind of, if you feel comfortable with it, let them in on what your goal or your purpose is, because I've definitely had times where, like, it was actually kind of creepy. I got really close with Mike Mahoney like a couple years ago, telling him about where I wanted to go, where I wanted my journey to go and everything, and there was a day where things just like those perfect crap storm days where everything hits you from all sides. Mm-hmm. And I was leaving my school and I was heading to the bar. Mm-hmm. Right, and that was going to be my solution, which not a great solution. Mm-hmm. And out of the blue, without prompting, Mike Mahoney texts me and he goes, "Hey man, I was thinking of you. Like, how are you doing with your goal?" Mm-hmm. And it was just enough of like a douse of cold water to the face where I said, "Man, what are you doing?" Mm-hmm. And I went back to what I was doing before, and picking myself up from that day. And I ended up hanging out with some buddies later that night, watching some football, and it ended up turning into a nothing day. Yeah. So I think it's good, like, when you share with people what your goal is, people that you trust, whether it's family or friends, they can kind of help keep you on track. Because let's be honest, we're only human. We're gonna stray from what our goals are every now and then. But if you have people that are like there to kind of bump you back into play, that's always good. Mm-hmm. So in many hands lighten the load, or some old people saying like that. Yeah. And then speaking of old people sayings, you made me think of something else. It's probably something in our guidance counselor's office. Oh, too, boy! Right. It's those stupid motivational pictures they used to have with like a person on top of a mountain, like going like that, and it's like inspiration, something that'll make you climb a mountain. You know what I mean? Like one of those ones. Like, it's not in life. It's not how many times you fall. It's how many times you pick yourself up. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I scoffed at it, laughed at it, whatever. But it is true. If you have a day where you realize I'm not making any progress to that, but the next day you can get right back on that horse and get back to work, the other day is a memory, man.
Yep.
So
Support system's good.
be positive. That's my main message here. Be positive. Approach each day as a new challenge, new opportunity. That's what I'm trying to do, and it's been good so far.
Not the blood type though.
Yeah, but I am O positive.
Nolan, you got anything? Because we kind of just.
Yeah, I would say just that. I think it's a problem for pretty much the vast majority of people in the world, though. Like, it's good to have a goal and a purpose, but you need to know how to handle failure, because you're going to fail, and like, not just along the way. Like, the vast majority of people are going to like fail to achieve like their ultimate goal, and that's not like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you think of just like take the Olympics for example, everyone in each event has been training their whole life for like that moment.
Yeah.
One person wins, 3 people medal, the rest of the field doesn't, and they've achieved nothing. And then outside of that, you think all of the people that worked their whole lives to try to get there and didn't make the cut for their nation in trials, but that doesn't like that's not really what life is about. Like, it's great to accomplish things that you want to accomplish and to win competitions and whatever, but like those people who don't win, right? Like, yeah, I'm not saying you have to be happy and losing. Like,
right.
Obviously that sucks, but and there's like a time to be like sad about it, but those people, they're gonna go home to like their lives, right, outside of that, and it's gonna be fine. Like the vast majority of people, they're gonna go train other athletes. They're gonna find other things, and it's just, I think, especially in our society, when we're kids, we're taught really strange lessons. Like, everyone gets a participation trophy, and it makes those kids feel bad because they know
They didn't earn it.
they didn't earn it. It waters down the people who actually did win or place or whatever. It waters down that accomplishment for them. But if you don't have that, I feel like you realize like how many other people didn't win too. Like, you're not alone in that.
Mm.
Like, I know one of the Scandinavian countries, I think it's Norway or Sweden, I forget which, they have a word, I don't remember, for like a whole philosophy that they sort of live by as a cultural thing, basically about like finding like beauty in mediocrity. Like, they're a much more like socialistic society, so they view the great, like their culture as a thing.
Mm.
So when their culture does things, it's like a big deal as opposed to like individual accomplishments. So it's a cultural difference, but it's whichever one it was, it like ranks as the happiest country in the world because they're happy with a normal house, like a small normal house, like a normal job. Like, they don't feel like if they don't have the highest paying job or they don't get a promotion, they don't feel like a failure, right? Or if they don't have like a really rich house or live in a really rich neighborhood, they don't feel like a failure. And you can aim for those things, but just because you don't accomplish that doesn't make you a failure. Like, failure and mediocrity is like part of life, right? The vast majority of people are not going to accomplish things that will be remembered for history. That's not a bad, like, you have to have something that you want, right? That you want to accomplish, and that's important. But you can't tie your entire self-worth, I think, in life to like one thing, to one thing, and then you have to like appreciate everything you did in your power to try to accomplish that, right? And then not compare to like other people as much as possible. It's like human nature, but to not compare your success against other people's. So I'm torn because it is like I definitely understand like having have a purpose and like do that, and that makes it adds meaning to your life. But I think at the same time, I definitely have known people that are like so wrapped up in something that when they like fail, it like crushes them. And I think that's they're like good people otherwise. Like, that's not the entirety of that, and you need to be able to see the rest. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the scope of reality, like outside of yourself, a little bit. In that, because not everyone can win. Not everyone can accomplish the greatest things in life, but that doesn't. That mean that like the vast majority of the world is like that. So that you're just like everyone else, which isn't a bad thing.
It's kind of like the eggs in the basket. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, yeah, if that's important to you, invest in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, just like hobbies.
I mean,
like it's not your career, but like you got to find things that that make you happy.
I would say your passion. Give it your all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Give it your best effort. Like always, like be doing the most you can that you take to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, you can't let that destroy you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't compare, like, if your goal is to like lose weight, example, right? And you can't be like, if you start at 400 pounds and you lose like 150 or 250 pounds, you know what I mean? Like, that's a major accomplishment.
Yeah.
You can't be looking on like Instagram and other things like that and comparing yourself to other people and thinking that you're somehow like a failure because you're not like winning.
Mm-hmm.
That you're not like reaching the ultimate goal of whatever it is, like. So I.
Well, and so and then I think that's kind of like, I agree with you, because I think that was like what Brett and I were saying, like the end goal isn't as important so much as the journey, right? So like you said, like an Olympic athlete, let's say there's 100 guys competing for 3 medals, 3 of them are gonna get it, 97 aren't. But I had a coach in college who was training for the Olympics and everything, and I have to reach out to him, see if he actually qualified or not, because I haven't talked to him like a year or two now. But the actual process of training was like a guiding thing for him, and he knew there was a realistic chance. I'm not gonna qualify for the U.S., but I think when you have that goal in mind, it doesn't even have to be a winning thing. Like it's just whatever mind frame you have, like losing weight, right? Let's say you're 400 pounds, like 150 pounds, that is a fantastic weight loss, right? That is a huge victory if you can pull that off. And that journey to that point, that should be your victory, that you even attempted the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's gonna be some people that have that idea and then never follow through, and I'm not saying they're a failure, because you don't know that person in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And failure in and of itself, as weird as it sounds, those can be victories too. It doesn't seem like it in the moment, but I had a huge setback in college, where I had to stay back a year because of some stuff. But it turned out that kick in the shin was actually what I needed, And so sometimes you don't sense it in the moment, but yeah, failure can be super instructive, and it's a good thing. And like we were saying earlier, never compare yourself to other people. Each person's unique. Individuals have different needs or different standards, whatever. So be happy with what you achieve, and even if it's not much, just know that you did something or tried to do something. I think that's my point, but I agree with Nolan.
I agree with the failure thing too. Like, building off examples, when I moved to California, technically the reason I moved out there was to get a job. Technically that's a failure, because I didn't do shit for 10 months. I applied one place, was very determined on that one place, and then just didn't apply anywhere else. So, like, in that facet of why I went out there, yeah, I was a failure. But in another one, that was a great accomplishment as well, because it was the first time I was living on my own, to be honest. And then, I spent a lot of time making content. I think I put out a YouTube video every weekday, Monday through Friday, for like 2 months, 3 months, I don't know, however long straight. A lot of editing I learned. Obviously, the Twitch streams, I was still doing those and finding new ways to do that. And, the guys came out in my final week in California to hang out. That was a lot of fun. A lot of, exploration, because I was on my own. Like, all right, well, you're in this new state. Don't just sit in your apartment all the time. Like, go out and do things. So, yeah, I know there was a couple times when I was out there, I was broken, because I was like, I'm not doing what I set out to do. But yeah, looking back, like you said, it was definitely a good thing to do, and I learned a lot from it. So yeah, it's important to learn from those failures and see them for the positives and not the negatives, because even if it is a failure, it doesn't mean it's all negative.
It's all mindset, I think, your whole life. Like you said, if you don't medal in the Olympics, the reason I'm saying this is because I think everybody's familiar with the Olympics, and how that works. So it's really an easy metaphor to think about. Yeah, you may not have medaled, but you can look at it with so many different mindsets. It depends on the mindset you choose for yourself. And like I said, I really do think the biggest obstacle in our way sometimes is ourselves. Because if because especially if you're like, I see these, I think China had a gymnast competing who was 16, which is just, wow. That she's, at that competitive level at 16, like, wow, good for her. But let's say she didn't medal. There's going to be another Olympics when she's 20, another when she's 24, another one because she started so young. It's like, you can either come away from not medaling and saying, like, oh, man, I sucked, or you can say, I'm going to be back next time because I know how it went this time, That's, I'm not saying it's always realistic, but I'm just, at this point in my life, I'm definitely trying to adopt the thing of trying to look at everything in a way that can be helpful rather than hurtful. Because what's the point in hurting myself? You always gotta, you can only blame yourself if you don't try, so.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you do fail, you can't, like, beating yourself up, getting upset about it. Like, obviously everyone does in the moment, and there's always, like, you know what I mean? There's definitely, like, an appropriate time to, like, be upset about, like, losing or not accomplishing something you really wanted.
You can't
but,
really
like,
help that.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not, when you do that for an extended period of time, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're hurting yourself from accomplishing anything else. You know what I mean? Or even getting back and trying to accomplish that. Like, so I just think, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's a problem for a lot of people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is handling, like, a lot of people will try something. Like, easy example, because it's not super serious. An instrument. They'll pick up an instrument when it doesn't come to them right away.
Yep.
Like, it's not for me. Especially, like, when you get older, that's, like, one thing when, like, because your brain is different. So it's, like, harder to learn a new instrument or a new language as your brain ages. But, like, I mean, I think we all knew kids in high school that tried to pick up guitar, and then it was just, like, didn't come easy right away. So it was like, it's not for me. So, I mean, it's easy to go with what you're good at, but it's also perseverance is good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you stick to something and persevere and it's not coming, you can't beat yourself up over it either, because you don't know how long it's going to take. And also, I mean, if you decide, if you've given it your all and you decide it's just not going to happen, that's also not a failure.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You gave it everything you could.
Yep, absolutely. I love the Olympics reference. I wish I had actually thought of that initially, because it provides a lot of ground to work on with this topic. But anyway,
It's good.